Today we're building a color palette based around Peale Green by Benjamin Moore. That's one of the many things we do on this painting and decorating channel, including putting out 6 videos a week for all my fellow design divas and dudes. I gotcha. I'm gonna tell you all about Peale Green today, including how dark it is, but also tell you what kind of color it is and how you can use it in your home. I also got 3 other great colors that can work within the same room or in other rooms of your home, and then I'll finish off with a light and dark trim color that you can paint your baseboards, your doors, and your frames with, should you choose to do so. Please hit that like button for me as it does wonders for our channel's growth, which has grown quite a bit recently, and also hit that subscribe button if you want to keep up to date with our videos. I find Peale Green to be very appealing. It's one of your classic earthy, dark, deep greens that I feel like represents the forest and being amongst the trees. Traditionally, dark colors like this are accents, and people only use them in small doses in accent form to accentuate things. But I find more and more people are embracing using dark colors throughout entire rooms. All 4 walls, not just one feature wall. And in fact, I think I have a green that's quite similar to this in my studio right now. Go figure. In general, if you do want to use colors like Peale Green in rooms, it's a bit easier to use them behind closed doors. So you're not going to disrupt your overall flow by putting it in a really open area that maybe traditionally you would use a color that would be lighter and maybe more neutral because it can connect the dots a bit easier. But just because it's easier to use safer, lighter colors in the more open areas of your home doesn't make it a better choice. It's just easier. It's simpler for a lot of people. So even though this might be a great color on cabinets and vanities and furniture, if you do want to use it in a room, the first place you could probably use it is a powder room because it's sectioned off. There's probably no windows there and that door better be closed. So also, if you're wondering whether or not green is still in, if you ask me, it is, because I love green and I will continue to love green. If you don't use a lot of green but you want to, think of it as a great option in place of any other dark color that you might like, whether it would be black, charcoal gray, navy blue, even brown. Just picture one of those colors in your space, swap it out with Peale Green, and see how it makes you feel. Because really, design in a lot of ways is about feeling. What do you enjoy? What do you gravitate towards? If you were to force me to use this color in a room, my impulse would be somewhere like an office where I want to feel grounded, yet still somewhat invigorated. Second place would maybe be a prestigious living room, because you want to relax in a living room, but you're not going to completely wind down like maybe in a bedroom, right? So it has that nice balance to it. So for the uninformed people that are maybe new to this channel, you don't only get chatter about one paint color here. I got 5 other colors that are centered around Peale Green as the main feature. So if you're trying to put together a color palette, then you're in luck because I'm about to do it for you. Starting with April showers, Benjamin Moore calls this a misted green meets gray. Now I know gray may not be your thing, but I think this warm gray just suits green so well because it has some of that green within it and also just the right amount of warmth to coordinate with it. Sometimes you just need a light neutral to fill in the gaps, that nice glue color I like to call it. Or you can even envelop your entire space with that neutral so that your bolder colors like Peale Green can be that much more prominent. This is my favorite neutral choice of the 3. Tranquility takes things into a little bit of a cooler direction. And I mean, literally, it's a bit chilly of a color. It brings in that blue mixed in with a little bit of that muted gray-green as well. There is that sort of overtone of sage mixed in, so it doesn't go too far into blue territory. It sure looks blue next to Peale Green, but I find this to be a great option if you want something a little more, I guess, adjacent to green, meaning it's just a little off to the side for a different feel. So if you wanted a neutral that feels a bit airy and soothing and maybe spa-like and stands out a little bit more because of that cooler color temperature, then maybe Tranquility is your jam. Stone Hearth is number 3, and if you've noticed, each of these 3 colors steadily get a little bit darker, but not dark enough where they'll even hold a candle to Peale Green and its depth. Stone Hearth by nature is a fairly neutral color as well, but unlike our last one, this one really doesn't have any noticeable green to it whatsoever, which means it's going to complement Peale Green. I've used Stone Hearth on my kitchen cabinets in my old loft, and I love that color because it has a nice balance of gray, beige, a bit of brown, and a touch of red as well. And it's the red that will really cause you to either love or hate this color pairing. It's an interesting relationship that these two colors have because red and green, they sit on opposite sides of the color wheel, making them very polarizing and dynamic and charged. But you can also interpret them as being a pairing of green and brown, which is a wonderful combination that is directly tied to nature. A natural fit, if you will. I will say I would be a little cautious putting these two colors in the same space, especially if you're using a lot of both. But having one as the primary color and then the other as a subtle accent could be a more feasible choice for a lot of you. It doesn't really matter which one is the predominant choice. You can kind of flip-flop them if you want. And then of course you have the other option, which is use one in one room and then the other in another. Just keep them at arm's length distance. I mean, not literally, you probably want a little bit more than that, I feel. It's up to you. You do you. You're the designer here, okay? I'm just the talking head. No color palette is complete in my mind without some suitable trim options. Your trim is anything that outlines your walls, basically. So think of your baseboards, your door and window frames, casings, molding, all that. Traditionally, you would pick an off-white, I guess, of some sort, which I do have for you, but it's always fun to switch things up with a darker color on your trim as well. So Cloud9 would be my white choice, and the description says it all to me. It's a clean white with a touch of aloe. You don't notice the green on its own, and you especially don't notice it next to Peale Green, but there is a touch of it there, which coordinates nicely with any green-based colors, which we have a few of. And even next to the more red-dominant Stonehearth, Cloud9 still feels soft and classy as a white. But it's just a bit more interesting than something that's pre-mixed and just gray and sterile. I do think it's white enough to use on ceilings as well, if you want to keep things consistent there. If you wanted some darker trim, I would suggest a color like Nightfall, which is essentially an off black, meaning it's not as dark as you can go necessarily, but dark enough to pop off against a color as dark as Peale Green. There is the slightest hint of green present in it, but it's very minute. I was originally going to pick a color that was a deep, dark, blackened green, kind of like Topsoil by Benjamin Moore, but I preferred Nightfall because it contrasts Peale Green just a bit more, and it also suits the other three wall colors a little more evenly. Looking at you, Stonehearth. Here's the palette all together. Let me know what you think, and check out this video because I think you're gonna love it. I mean, I'm in it, so it's pretty good.